basically they all touch on issues like wildlife, culture, walking safari, and it's all done in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Botswana, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. These past 2 years have been very tricky for us due to the COVID pandemic. But that has, notwithstanding, kept me at home. It has given me another chance to rethink about my programs, and I've been researching on what I should do. There are all these new programs that I've been doing with my guests, who are mainly repeat guests or referrals. Now, this past 2 years, I've actually reprogrammed myself to try and see if I can involve my guests with the people on the ground that I visit. I have a project that I deal with women in the village. So there is always an aspect of leaving a footprint. And I figured out most of my programs, the one thing that was lacking is leaving a footprint as to where the guests have been to. So by including the people that I work with in the field, it has given me another chance. And my first run I did, I had a very good feedback, because more and more people are talking about not only about the wildlife they saw or the beauty of the country, the scenery. The main part of what they really thought about they'll take back home is the encounter with the locals that they met in the village level. It was a big shocker to most of my guests that they figured out that in spite of how far they were from the city, almost 80% of every single person they came across were all they spoke English, and there's a lot of empowerment that we are doing as a company. Now, to speak about what I do, with this new COVID pandemic, it has given me another chance to re-evaluate how I'm going to do my programs. So what I'm doing now currently is I'm trying to limit my programs to individual families or friends or people who know each other. And the main reason as to why I'm doing this is people that are traveling with me have to be a bit certain as to the status of their colleagues on the safari. So if they come on a trip, they know that everybody that's on the program is either vaccinated or they're COVID negative on the programs. And this has actually given me a very big boost. I try and pick up small properties and to avoid congestion. Most of the programs or most of the properties that I use, they have outdoor eating. Now that has given me a chance to look back as to how I can keep my guests safer. I make them more comfortable. And every single area that I go, I make sure that I prepare my guests before I get to the destination. Now, every day in the morning and in the evening, we get to check the guest temperature. As a country, we have been given a mandate to do that. There is a line that we call the medical staff or the Ministry of Health in case of any suspected change of um, temperature, or we feel somebody is coming down with anything. But again, we don't take chances. So the government has a hotline in the ministry that we all as operators have to call back every evening to make sure that everything is going on well. Whether there is any change or no change, we have to call. But should there be any change, then definitely, we'll definitely call. Now, one of the things that people ask me, like, when you go to the field, how fast can I get back to the city? Apparently, the Kenyan government having started safari businesses in the early 70s and early 60s, sorry, let's mid 70s, it became apparent that more and more people are getting concerned about their safety. So the government mandated an institution known as the African Medical Foundation to put out a medical evaluation team. So all guests that I take on my trips, they're all enrolled on called the Flying Doctor Service. Now, these are very small planes that are like flying ER rooms. So what happens is whenever there's a case that needs attention, and this is more like a threatening medical condition. It's a fully fledged ER room that flies out in the field. Then evacuate people to Nairobi, and at that point, the insurance from the guest will take over. but all the cost from the field to the hotel in Nairobi, sorry, to the medical facility in Nairobi is all taken care of by a fee that has already been tagged in the program that I run. So when it comes to activation, we're talking about a turnaround of to the most an hour from any part of Kenya, flying in and flying out to bring you to Nairobi. Now, the facilities that we have in Nairobi are actually, to say the least, among the best in Africa. And they actually are at par with most of the European standards. So when it comes to medical facilities, we are really, really up there when it comes to safety medically for all our guests. Now, when I talk about how many people that we have on a trip, we try and limit our program to at least 4 in a jeep. Now, most of our jeeps can comfortably carry 8 people. We try and to 4 to give people enough space to move around, to give them enough area to relax and air to circulate in. And when it comes to ages, how old do I take on our program? When we have families, try and actually advise for memory purposes to bring kids who are about anything from 10 and above. But I've come across parents who say that the 8-year-olds or the 6-year-olds are up to date to traveling. So, and they're comfortable doing that. But I still make them know that the days can be very long and can be very hot. So these are some of the things that I work with. But on average, the best ages for traveling would be 10 years old. How old again? Now the ages for the age, how old is a question of how fit someone is. At a certain point, we try and make sure that all our guests get a medical clearance from their doctors if they've had any challenges medically. But if they're sure with what they are, we always welcome them. But one of the things we try and encourage is everybody to get insurance cover before coming on a trip. But the insurance cover mainly covers for stuff like emergencies in terms of trip cancellation. In case you have to cancel a trip for one or the other reason, maybe somebody got sick, the COVID came in, flights were suspended. Sometimes airlines go bankrupt and you don't know how to go about it. So those are some of the things that we always try and encourage people to check insurance covers against any eventuality that could or might come in handy when there's a challenge in their travel. Now, how many days do I offer my programs for? The only thing that I try to do is I listen to my guests' needs. I work around what their needs are. I've had groups that only want to come and experience the culture. I've had people who wanted to come and just walk. I've had people who wanted to come and do photography. I've had people who come and they want to do mountain climbing. So based on what a guest wants is what I work with. I don't what you call photocopy or copy print what other operators do, because I learned over the years that when you sell a program based on what everybody does, guests sometimes would come back and to you and tell you, we wish we knew this was an option for us. So the first instance I ask them is, what are their interests? And from their interest, I'll give them a program based on their interest and their time in the country. And from all those factors, it helps me put a program that's worth their time. Now, coming to accommodation, one of the biggest questions I've always been asked is, what kind of accommodation are we going to have? The accommodation that we have in the country are what we call tented camps. And I wish I could get a picture of one of our tented camps, because when people hear of a tented camp, they think about the Boy Scout or the Girl Guide tents. Now, these are not those kind of tents. These are what you might call 5-star, if not 6-star accommodation in the tent. The exterior, yes, it is tent material, but inside you have ensuite, showers, toilets, bathroom. Some of them actually have mini jacuzzis in the tent. And all those facilities will have a mini bar and they have ACs in them. Now, somebody might think, okay, well, I think this is blowing it too much. It could be yes, but it's also there's also reasons to why we choose some of these facilities. One of my main reasons for choosing this facility is when guests are out here, they need a place that they can relax and enjoy, a place that they can feel they're not suffocating, a place they can actually take time and just sit back and read the books, a place that remains as opposed to worrying about um, how safe are they in the middle of the bush. And
Okay.
most of my guests,
Who is it?
they are so surprised as to why it was
Well,
such a.
he came in at 108.
Do I have more time to explain what I do, or I need some time for
No,
questions?
I think we should probably wrap it up. If you could put something together in a framework
Yes.
package, we'd love to see it. But you've been more than adequate in sharing with us an understanding. I really appreciate that, James. I mean, I don't know how many out there are looking or would like to take a safari.